We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before we start with our special webinar with a special guest, I would like to call on Ms. Angeline Kilang to lead us in an opening prayer.
Let us always remember that we are in the most holy presence of the Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, Amen. Good and loving God, our source of love and light, thank you for bringing us today together in a spirit of generosity. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. May we discern your will to unite in fruitful act. We ask for your wisdom and grace to use our talents for the betterment of others. With gratitude, we offer this prayer in your name. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Now, thank you for that, Ms. Angeline Kilang, and I'm here, your host. I am Jessica Scolan, ang G to see the world with you, and my co-host, Ms. Angeline Kilang.
I am Angeline Kilang, ang makuliit ng better side of the Astronomers.
And here we have a special webinar today, don't we, Angie?
Yes, partner.
Now, without further ado, let us introduce our speakers and our talk. So, Angie, take it away.
Good day, astronomers. Today is a special day. Before we start the stream proper, for the Super Blood Moon, we have a special collaboration with a mega organization, the Space Generation Advisory Council. Our first speaker is a physics graduate from the University of the Philippines, currently serving as the national point of contact for the Philippines for SGAC. He also leads and participates in several projects in SGAC in the realms of commercial space, space education, and space exploration, with a background in designing unmanned aerial vehicles and traffic prediction. His main work now is in space technology and MLAI, with interest primarily resting in the future of technology. He is also leading a tech startup that combines satellite imagery and art. Everyone, please welcome Sir Harlee Quizzagan. Our next speaker is an early career scientist working on applying sustainability, education, and evidence based policy making in the fields of healthcare, environment, and space. She had Years of experience working both in academia and industry, in laboratory and field, and in basic and applied research. In her spare time, she remotely leads a national science mentoring program and a national space education program in her home country, the Philippines. Let us all welcome Miss Florence Pauline.
Ayan, let us give us a warm welcome to our guest speakers in today and our talk regarding the SGAC or the Space Generation Advisory Council. Now, let's get on with the talk proper.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Harlee Quizzagan from SJC, and today with me would be Florence Basubas, who is also my co-national point of contact for the SJC in the Philippines. So yeah, thank you so much for inviting us today to share more about what we do with our organization. So yeah, next slide please. Just to give a little bit of introduction, the Space Generation Advisory Council has been working with the United Nations, particularly for the sustainable use of outer space. And so to give a little bit more of background, we have this short video to sort of like summarize or give an overview of our organization's work. So yeah, I'm not sure if you guys were able to hear the audio of the video, but nevertheless, there were texts, so I hope they were able to give a little bit of an explanation. So currently in the Philippines, there's already quite a number of people who are member of the organization, but the four faces that you see on this slide would be the Filipinos who hold a position within the organization. So we have Christine Jane Atienza, who is working as the executive secretary for the entire global network, and our regional coordinator for the Asia Pacific region would be Bernadette Detera. And then you have me and Florence as your national point of contact. So what exactly are we doing with SJAC, right? So in the next slide, you will see that the origin of the SJAC is that it's actually part of the United Nations, as was mentioned a while ago, and it was conceived during the third United Nations Conference on the Exploration and Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, or the UNISpace 3 in 1999. So what that simply means is that or as part of the initiative and directive of the organization, which by the way is a non-governmental, non-profit organization, is to represent the university students and young professionals. Currently, we are accepting members who are 18 years old to 35 years old. And what we do is with different events that we're going to introduce later on, we use these events and other activities to gather insights and perspectives of students and young professionals as to how or what's the future of outer space and how can we sustainably pursue these applications or uses. So next slide, please. So in essence, there are actually several purposes of SJEC as an organization, but these three things would be the main activities or the main directives that we often do in pursuit of the mission and vision that was used to form the organization. So we have here, or the SJEC is basically a global network of volunteers. So most of the roles that we have here is volunteer based. There's only, I think, 2 or 3 positions that are paid, which are the executive directors. So as a volunteer organization, what we do is we gather different people from the space sector. And what I mean by different people is we're actually catering to both technical space people and non-technical space people. So you'll see later on that we have what we call space lawyers. We have people who are entrepreneurs who are just doing business with space, but are not really space engineers or aeronautics engineers and whatnot. So yeah, the reason why we're so focused on volunteer based is, well, we just want to make a difference in the space sector through actions that we do. And so we connect peers and space professionals from different organizations. So we often collaborate with both private and public organizations to work on different projects or different initiatives. And so the end goal is to empower the next generation of space leaders through or by providing them opportunities and basically a platform to voice out their insights in how we go about the global space as an industry. Please. Yeah, these numbers are kind of outdated, but the latest update that we have is that we're present in 6 regions all over the world, 150 countries with more than 15,000 members. So it's just a very big organization at this point, and yeah, we have a very wide-reaching network that allows us to have a wider perspective as well with the globalness of the space industry in a sense. So yeah. Next slide, please. So these are the 5 pillars. When we say 5 pillars, these are basically the foundation of how we go about in pursuing or in achieving the missions and visions of SJEC. So we do activities through events. We have these project groups. We have professional development activities. And we also offer scholarships to our SJEC members that allows them to participate in both SJAC and non-SJAC events. And of course, since we're directly related to the United Nations, we have UN-related activities. By the way, our status with the UN is that we have a permanent observer status with the United Nations. And so most of the activities or most of the insights and outputs that we gather throughout the annual events all over the world, they get summarized and they get reported to the United Nations. Next slide, please. All right, so about the activities. Florence?
Thank you, Harlee. You did such a wonderful job sharing this summary of what SJC is. And as Harlee shared, we are an organization that was formed to support the UN in the peaceful uses of outer space so that the youth's perspective and voices can also be heard. As he shared, we have a permanent observer status in the UN COPUS, and that means that whenever there is a UN COPUS meeting, an SJC representative would be there and would share the perspectives of the youth. We have multiple events, especially regionally. We have these workshops where we gather these suggestions and policy recommendations from the youth, and they get reported annually to the UN. And during the UN COPUS meetings, SJC representatives would be sharing this. In SJC as well, we just don't do like policy. We also have like some scientific and technical backgrounds, because a lot of us are in science, as we would share later on. But there are also like non-science and non-technical people, like Harlee shared. So there's a space for everyone to participate in space. Another thing is the Space for Youth, which is a program by the United Nations for the youth to participate and share their ideas for the in order to achieve the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. So recently, we've been having this competitions with the UN where the youth can share their ideas in how space can be used to achieve the SDGs. So, for example, in healthcare or education, and more recently in climate change. So, a lot of the times we have this debates about why are we going to outer space when we could like focus more on staying on Earth. But a lot of the things that we are actually doing in space is to help us understand climate change and solve climate change here on Earth as well. So space has a lot of uses, and we want the youth to be involved. We also have international, regional, and local events, which Harlee will be sharing about.
Yeah, so as mentioned, a lot of our activities revolve around events and project groups. So one of the biggest events that we hold annually would be the Space Generation Congress. And it's just so amazing that despite the unprecedented pandemic that happened, SGAC as an organization had a very quick response to this, and we still hold the record that this event, the Space Generation Congress, is still being held annually despite the pandemic. So, SGC, the Space Generation Congress, would be often hold or often executed during the International Astronautical Congress, which is another event if you're familiar with the IAF or the International Astronautical Federation. So the event is composed of a lot of delegates, and they are coming from 50 different countries, which goes to show that literally everyone who wants to get involved into space activities, they can participate in these events. And so the event is often composed of high-level speakers, experts from different aspects of space. And when we say different aspects of space, these are coming from space agencies, academia, industry, and sometimes even just private individuals who are joining the event out of personal passion. They're not technically involved in space, but they're interested in space, and they just go to these events. So during these events, there are 8 working groups, and each working group has or they discuss different key issues from the space industry, and together they ideate on how they go about those key issues. And yeah, this year it will be held in Dubai on October 21 to 23, and that is a few days before the International Astronautical Congress this year as well, which is going to be in Dubai. So yeah, the other event that we have would be sorry for the technical difficulties. But yeah, there's another event. We'll see it later in a while. We call it the Space Generation Fusion Forum. So the Space Generation Fusion Forum is more geared towards space and career topics, and these are composed of high-level international space leaders. And one of the best things that you can actually get out of these events would be the networking sessions, which allows you to connect to different space professionals all over the world. And then another international event that SJAC holds would be, please. So the SGX, which is another event that usually occurs with or in conjunction with another event, particularly the satellite show in Washington, D.C. So this one is more niche in a sense because it's geared towards Future Space Leaders Foundation or partnership with Future Space Leaders Foundation, and talks a little more about satellite technology. So it's a more technology-focused event compared to the other events that we've mentioned a while ago. Another one would be the Space Gen United, which is the first SJC online congress, which was held last year. It was a very interesting event. It was composed of 143 delegates from 53 different countries, and the 7 working groups during that event again was working on different issues from the space industry. This is a usual format for most of the events in SGEC, as you'll see later on. And the reason for that is because, as mentioned a while ago, SGEC really has to look into its mission and vision, which is ideating and collating different perspectives from space or students and young professionals about sustainable use of outer space. next question, next slide. So yeah, Florence will take over.
So after the international events, we also have regional events. So these are events in every region, and since the Philippines were in Asia, we usually do the Asia Pacific events. So there are two types of events. The first one are the space generation workshops, and they are kind of patterned like the international events where we have this working groups on different topics in space, and we focus on this like regional space issues. So for example, in Asia Pacific, we have like issues with natural disasters, for example. So how do you use space um, to address natural disasters like typhoons, flooding, volcanic eruptions, wildfires? There's also how do we, since we have a lot of emerging space nations, like the Philippine space is actually emerging with the recent establishment of the Philippine Space Agency. So we discuss all of these, and usually we would have a partner as well. So like we would partner with like Boeing or like Airbus or other like companies within the region. Or for international events, we also partner with like SpaceX or Blue Origin. All of these like companies or organizations who we would give like recommendations to as well. Another one is the SG country, which usually happens in a specific country or sometimes in a region as well. So we also have the SG ASEAN, and this occurs in a specific country. And it's a one-day event, and it focuses on like the national or sub-regional space issues, like in Southeast Asia, for example, whenever we do the SG ASEAN. And yes, we have been having the Asia Pacific Space Generation Workshop for the past 7 years, and we'll be having the 8th one coming this late November, December. So actually, the Philippines has hosted an APSGW last 2016 in Los Baños, and last year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we did it online. This year, we're probably going to do it online, but the next host city will be in Vietnam. So if you ever want to like join any of these events, you could definitely join them. There's also the SGSEN, which I shared before, and it is about discussing key topics in this sub-region of Southeast Asia, and there are like SG country events. So we have been trying to plan an SG Philippines, but due to COVID, again, like we have to postpone it. But hopefully when we do it, there will be a lot of Filipino youth who will be joining and will be will be joining and participating and engaging with us. So yeah, the Philippines has had a lot of delegation as well in SJC events. As I've shared, we hosted the APSGW in 2016, and if you can actually like zoom in the picture, in the middle we have Dr. Rahel Sese, who lobbied for the PhilSA, and but astronaut, what was his name? Suguichi? Sorry, I'm very bad at like pronouncing Asian last names, but Japanese astronaut who recently was in ISS, and he took a photo of the Philippines. So it was really cool. Like you meet a lot of really cool people, and you meet a lot of astronauts as well in SJC events. And we've had like increasing number of delegations in several regional events. Harlee is usually one of the people who goes to these events a lot. And yeah, we also recently had our own like online events over the past year. We did the World Space Week, and we usually invite like really cool, I always say cool, but they're really great and like top level experts in their fields in space. So during the World Space Week, we invited some satellite experts. We also did a webinar on like space medicine. And during the online APSGW, we also had a Philippine delegation. And during APSGWs, we don't just like talk about space, but we also share about our countries. And there is actually like a country showcase. So last time we did an online caroling because during Christmas, during Pasko, we sing Christmas songs. We did that during the last APSGOW. And something we did last year because we couldn't do SG Philippines was we did Space for the Philippines. And we introduced SJC. We had like over 200 participants in each of the days. And the second day, we had a panel discussion with the Director General of PhilSA, Dr. Joel Marciano. So it was a really great opportunity for the youth to learn about what the PhilSA's plans are and how can they participate and be involved. So yeah, as shared by Harlee, we also have some project groups, and this is really the best way for us to be involved in the specific fields in space that we are interested in. Because we think about space, we're just like, oh, astronomy. We're going to be seeing a lunar eclipse later on, but there's really a lot to it as well. And there's definitely a field that you can participate in, no matter what expertise or skills you have, as long as you are interested in space. Harlee, feel free to start.
So before we go to the discussion of this, if you guys can somehow bring out your phones, and because we have a little activity that allows us to us what you guys feel, I guess, with a certain okay, but it looks like there's gonna be a big technical difficulty. So yeah, okay, never mind. We can skip it out. So as mentioned a while ago, or as you probably come to observe based on how we discussed the events, most of these events kind of sound the same in a sense that they're always talking about different the working groups, and each working group would be identifying a certain issue, and then the delegates are going to talk about it. But it goes to show how the SJAC as an organization functions. That is literally asking these questions from in different aspects of space, and then just coming up with answers from students and young professionals. And that's very crucial because pertaining or creating solutions for these problems out of the perspective of students and young professionals yield a lot of projects. So as you'll see later, these types of activities within the organization has created different projects, has created different papers, and it just shows that a solution comes out of these events and these activities within the organization. So there are several project groups within the organization. So unlike the events, these project groups have existed for a very long time. And so projects within these project groups are often pursued in a span of a year, in a span of 3 months, in a span of 1 week. Doesn't really matter. So depending on your interest on the different aspects of space, you can join any of these project groups and try to participate in their activities. So for example, the first project group that we're showing here is the commercial space, which I'm personally a part of. So the commercial space, as the name suggests, would be doing projects that are relatively or very close to how commercial space industry would work. So here are several projects that we've worked with. So we have the space business in developing countries, wherein most of the work is trying to answer the question, in terms of participating in space activities, how can emerging space nations who are not really capable of launching their own rockets or creating their own spaceships, how can they participate in the global space activities? So that's one of the questions that are being answered here. Or if you're an entrepreneur who wants to build up a space startup, how can you do so in the environment of the Philippines, wherein it's not really as huge as the environment in the Silicon Valley, or not as huge as how Elon Musk would have, developed the startup in this current ecosystem. So we also have a pre-accelerator program, although this is not yet launched. We are working on a program that allows entrepreneurs who have a certain idea with regards to space business, and how can they turn that idea into a solid idea? How can they turn it into a sustainable business model? We also do different outreach activities. And another one but that might be particularly interesting is there was an event last year which was held by the Mars Society, which is a Mars City design competition. And the competition is basically asking different teams all over the globe to design a city that is made for 1 million people in Mars. So can you come up with an basically an urban architecture that is going to be sustainable for 1 million people in Mars? And SGAC worked together with the different project groups. They worked together to create an idea which was submitted in the competition, which was qualified for the until the top 10 finalists. And so what you see here is actually the book that it got published in. So if you're interested, you can buy the book. I'm one of the authors of the design. So this is one of the probably coolest things that I've done last year, because I spent a good 1 month doing hectic work just to ideate on how they come up with a city for 1 million people in Mars. So yeah, and then the other things that we do within the project group would be really centralized around commercial space in particular. Space for Humanity allows us to determine other opportunities as well with regards to entrepreneurship in the realm of space all over the world. So yeah, if you are interested, you can go to the website and then just go and find the project group and look for more information about commercial space. But to share other project groups, Florence would.
Thank you, Harlee. So we all also like participate in different project groups depending on, as we've shared, like your field of expertise, for example, or your interest. So I am personally interested in healthcare and medicine. So I've been really active in the space medicine and life sciences group. And we actually do a lot of things as well. Since I'm a new member, I haven't done a lot that I am doing this year. But over the past year, we've been doing a health and space webinar series where we invite actual astronauts, so like people who have gone to space and are like flight surgeons. So they're just not astronauts, but they're also doctors, and they discuss and share to us about like the different health related problems or topics in space. So how would it be like if like they get sick, if they like need to get treatment? How would it be like for like a female, for example, when you're going to outer space, because we have like um, our own like problems as well. Like we would be having like menstrual periods, all of that, because like um, astronauts usually stay in space for like a long period, like at least 3 months to like 6 months or even more than a year. We also have been partnering with the UK Space Labs, and they have been like doing webinars with us as well as competitions and hackathons. We're also collaborating with the UNOSA, Space for Global Health and Health Working Group. So this is the sustainable applications of space on Earth. Like how can we make use of like the space medicines on Earth? One of the inventions of space medicine actually is telemedicine, which is being used very widely right now due to COVID. And like being able to use like these uh, inventions that we do in outer space on Earth is something that is very important as well for the UN and for humanity. We also have competitions like a COVID-19 essay and like hackathons to ideate in terms of how to apply space medicine applications on Earth. We currently have a systematic review workshop where students or anyone who are interested are able to learn how to review uh, healthcare or space medicine papers. And this is very important when you are writing papers in space. For example, right now, I and my working group, we are currently writing like 3 papers to be published and presented in space conferences. And then there's a Twitter Space Life Sciences Journal Club where in Twitter, we actually discuss like a certain like space medicine paper, for example. And these are all like really good ways for you to be connected and also get to know like astronauts, for example, or space medicine scientists who are conducting actual experiments in space. Like we were able to meet Dr. LaRose, Trisha LaRose. She is currently designing the tumors in space, where they would be sending tumors to see how cancer grows and how cancer develops if they are in microgravity or when they're in space. There's a lot of cool ways for you to get involved as well if you're interested in medicine or healthcare.
So another one, this probably sounds very cool to be honest, is the Near Earth Object Project Group. And one of the things that I do is with regards to planetary defense. So when you're interested about asteroids and all these sci-fi-ish ideas of an asteroid hitting the Earth and then wiping our civilization, is not really something that people often take seriously. But the thing is, if you get involved with the near Earth objects, most of their talks are around planetary defense and asteroids and whatnot. So if you go to the website, you can see that they're holding an annual competition, which is like Move an Asteroid competition, which deals with these kinds of events. And most of the time, or most of their work is also in assisting the UN legal framework for international near Earth object cooperation. And so these types of discussions would allow them to come up with frameworks or sort of like a proposal or a report on with regards to asteroids and planetary defense and whatnot. Yeah, pretty cool as well. They've been doing different activities through competitions, through papers, through publications, through reports. So yeah.
And several people have actually like discovered asteroids. And if you discover an asteroid, the asteroid gets named after you. So they have like all of these like cool events where you could also like discover an asteroid, for example. And another one is the Space Exploration Project Group. They also were in the Mars City Design Competition because it's about, exploring space. Right now, they are still doing analog simulations as well, like the Poland Mars analog simulation. They are also doing like several newspapers and like publishing papers or like newsletters for their team members. So this is a great project group to join if you are interested in becoming an astronaut and like actually exploring space and like participating in analog missions here on Earth. Analog missions is like they try to simulate what like the moon would be like or what Mars would be like with certain areas here on Earth that have the same environment like Mars or the moon.
Another project group is the Space Law and Policy Project Group. So as the name entails, most of the things that they do engages with law and policy. So they engage in critical debates about the legal framework and policy aspects of space, particularly for sustainable use of outer space. And so it's a lot of investigation with regards to the regulatory challenges that are faced by space community. If you're familiar with a lot of the legislations such as in the US or the European Union, Intelsat, Inmarsat. These are things that they often tackle. And as a project group, they propose or come up with propositions with like a set of recommendation as to what are the sustainable policies or efficient policies that we need to adopt with so that we can use space or responsibly in a sense. So a lot of their works or a lot of the outputs that they create since 2012, which was the year that they were formed, they pursue legal training and building careers through legal profession and space industry as emerging. And then it's a very good platform for young professionals and university students as well that are intrigued with how the legalities of space would actually work. And so they investigate issues on international cooperation, national space law and policy. They also anticipate the because the political landscape around the world is kind of volatile. So they also take that into consideration, and how do we keep space a sort of cooperative industry, even though there's a very drastic changes with regards to the changes in space law and policy in different nations or in different organizations. So there. So yeah, they have very cool activities as well.
Yes, and another one is the Space Safety and Sustainability Group, which is very important because right now, when we're sending um, a lot of these like satellites or rockets, when we launch them to outer space, they actually create like space debris. And space debris is not a great thing to have because, if there's like big chunks of them, they could collide with each other. They could collide with like other planetary objects, and they could even like collide, or they could like have an impact event on Earth. It's kind of like, let's say like Armageddon, but instead of like an asteroid, it's a satellite that we sent to space, and that is pretty dangerous as well. So it's really important to identify ways for um, satellites to be launched safely, or rockets to be launched safely and sustainably, where they don't destroy the environment on Earth and in space. And this project group does a lot of work in that. They have essay competitions. They also have like um, webinars and outreach, and they also have like space. They also, I think they also do like actual research and publish papers, especially on the problem of space debris.
Another project group is the Small Satellites Project Group, and as you can see here, we couldn't even fit a lot of their outputs in one slide because they have a lot of papers published, and most of their work revolves around small satellites. And this is a very crucial or a very relevant aspect with regards to how small nations can participate in space activities. So as you might have heard already, the Philippines have itself has been sending its own small satellites in the form of CubeSats and a few nanosats like the Diwata and the Maya series. So the project group talks about the small satellites and what are the problems that are often encountered with regards to forming a mission for small satellites, or what are the applications that can be potentially pursued when you want to create a small satellite mission. And so if you are interested to read their papers, they have a lot here that we have on the slide, but there's a lot more that we couldn't put in the slide. So you can check out the website as well for the full catalog of the papers that they have created and published. So yeah.
And if you're interested in that, especially with like how to use artificial intelligence for developing like small satellites, they are doing a lot of work. So you could always participate in that project group. I think like Harlee, you're interested in that too. um, Another one is space technologies for Earth applications. This is a really important project group because, as I've shared before, like a lot of the things that we are developing in space and we are doing in space could actually be used to make the systems and the technologies that we have on Earth better. This involves like remote sensing, navigation systems, and disaster management, especially because we have a lot of natural disasters here on Earth, like the wildfires in California, in Indonesia, Australia, typhoons. We have typhoons on here in the Philippines and all over Asia. So it's really important to be able to like utilize better technology to predict how these natural disasters could affect us humans and like the Earth as well. And it's very much used for disaster preparedness, disaster risk reduction, as well as the response whenever like we have floods or typhoon, for example. Like during Yolanda, we were able to make use of the satellite technologies um, for like to predict uh, where, to predict how the typhoon would traject, and we've been keeping use of that as well. The nanosats are actually like the Maya satellites that have been recently developed by the Philippines and launched actually makes use of remote technologies to make it easier to contact remote areas, especially in disasters. So it's really useful to make use of space and develop space technologies for Earth.
And this is yet another interesting aspect that is often neglected, or at least before, but now it's gaining traction as to the recognition that ethics and human rights in space industry is a must when it comes to understanding how it goes. So we do know for a fact that the ISS, for example, is revered as one of the uh, best example of a global humanitarian cooperative activity, which goes to show that when we talk about the Earth being a or the humans being a spacefaring civilization, we're talking about the human civilization. So we're talking about the entire humanity. And so the Ethics and Human Rights Project Group is a very good platform for you to talk about the diversity that needs to be taken into consideration when it comes to allowing people or like developing the space industry in itself. So when we talk about the diversity of people, we're not just talking about being inclusive in terms of nationality or being inclusive in terms of gender. It's literally being inclusive in all aspects, such that even though non-space people can participate in space activities, an artist can somehow contribute with the space exploration initiatives of humanity as a go as an activity. Or other thing is when it comes to the human rights part of their activities, we know for a fact that the Space Generation Advisory Council is directly related to the United Nations, and the United Nations is known for its sustainable development goals. And so the vision of the project group is to identify how can space technology in particular can best contribute to the achievement of these sustainable goals, and to realize the United Nations objectives on human rights. So if you are interested in being a humanitarian and also being able to use space technology to pursue that kind of mission, then you would be very welcome to participate in this project group. So as you can see here, they do ethics and human rights in the space sector reading list and website. So they have a lot of materials that you can learn from. And of course, yeah, they have a lot of papers as well that they have been publishing. So I think this one is a relatively new project group though. But yeah.
So yeah, those are the project groups that we have, and you are invited to join and like participate in any, whether you are like technical or non-technical, whatever field you are, whether you are interested in law or ethics or arts, you can participate in space. And there's a lot of project groups where you can be involved in at SJC. Another,
I think there's
yeah.
one. I think there's one project group that we missed, which is,
Mhm.
I think you can show the last that one. So we have one there that says Space and Cybersecurity
Oh,
Project
yeah,
Group. So
yeah.
I think we missed putting it on the slide. But this particular project group follows the outcomes of cybersecurity and space together as part of the European Space Generation Workshop, which was held in Bucharest. And the main mission of the project group is to emphasize the need to reflect on the nature of space and cybersecurity, and what are the priorities of governments and international institutions in order to protect data privacy, but also remain open source in terms of allowing people to contribute as much as possible, and what are the possible technical solutions to the challenges that are essential in shaping the space industry while mitigating cybersecurity threats. So if you're into space and cybersecurity, that's a very cool project group as well. So I keep saying cool, but literally they're really awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, it's very exciting whenever we are in our project groups. Um, so yeah, you can just go ahead to our website. We have you can go to spacegeneration.org, and all of the information about SJC events, project groups, you can find them there. And if you ever want to be involved, you can also like contact us or like just like visit the website. Another thing that we do in SJC are scholarships. So as you know, coming from Asian countries, like developing countries like the Philippines, uh, peso to dollar is still pretty high. So SJC has scholarships to help um, the disadvantaged groups, especially like students, to be able to participate and join events, especially. So yeah, we have like about like 150 scholarships each year. We have scholarships for every event. So international events have scholarships, regional events have scholarships, and local events as well could have scholarships. We would sometimes there are also competitions, so you have to write like an essay probably to win a scholarship. Harlee has won a regional scholarship before, so maybe Harlee can share more about that experience. But yeah, um, SJC really values participation and inclusivity. So if you're ever interested in participating and you're unable to do so, you could like reach out and get to know different ways for you to be able to be involved.
I think we can skip this part for now. We can elucidate further during the Q&A session because I think we've spent quite a very long time trying to talk about the project
Yeah.
groups. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for both students and young professionals with regards to what we can offer as an organization to new members. So when you want to become a member, it's very easy actually. You can just go to the spacegeneration.org website and then sign up and create an account. And it's a free membership thing. So there's nothing to really prepare. The only thing that you might want to remember is even though it's a free membership, the only way you can extract the value of your free membership is to really participate in these events, participate in these project groups, and connect with these people and create a project together with them and collaborate with people from all across the globe just to be able to get a grasp on how space can become a very collaborative space. Yeah, a space is a collaborative space. So there, I highly encourage you to check out the website and then just learn more about the organization. We have a lot of activities, and if you have questions on how to be involved internationally, you can tap us on any of the contact informations, or if you want to volunteer with the local events that we're currently spearheading, you can also send us an email, and we'll gladly help you out. So yeah, I think we should go now to the to the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you so much, Harlee Quizzagan and Miss Florence Pauline for a very informative talk. Is it a partner? Well, in any case, I think she's having a difficulties. But with that, let's start with the Q&A. We're opening the Q&A right now. So we'll be waiting for your comments and suggestions and anything. you want to say. But before that, we have a question. Right? Can I have a confirmation that you can hear me?
We can hear you.
Ayan, that's good. Okay. First question regarding the Mars. So the city design for Mars. So my professor, Sir Jun, nagtanong siya kanina. Wait lang. If I can. He asked, what is the basis? I believe. Angie, can you hear? Can you speak?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Wait lang pa. Ito. Regarding the city design, Mars city design, so what are the requirements so that man can colonize Mars based on your design? So, yeah.
Several aspects, to be honest. One of the design. I'm not exactly allowed to talk about the entire project in itself because I'm a co-author, so we probably need permission to publicly talk about it. But the different aspects with regards to creating a city for 1 million in Mars would be the primary objective of creating radiation shielding. Because otherwise you can't you can't you can't really create a colony in Mars if you can't solve the radiation problem. But on top of that, even if you solve that problem, if it's a 1 million colony, you need to think about the economy of how that city works, the regulations of how you will maintain order, peace and order in that really in outer space, and how do you maintain relationship with Earth in a sense that you can still uh, consistently retain the sustainability of your roots per se as a humanity. So that involves a lot of thinking about the economic relationships with Earth, the political relationships with Earth. So it just goes to show that, you see, thinking about 1 million colony doesn't really revolve around just the technical problems. There's like a lot of problems that revolves around it that are often ignored, to be honest, when it comes to designing these things. Um, on top of the technical problems that you often see in sci-fi movies or in technical papers, there's those other aspects that we also considered and was regarded as one of the most well-designed aspect of the proposal that we have. So yeah.
Sige, take it away, partner. Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, so medyo nagkaroon ng technical difficulties ng aking partner. Press kami. So yeah, sir, I would like to ask, regarding po sa, since we have the pandemic now, what will make your organization relevant in this COVID-19 pandemic?
Maybe I could answer that. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, before the COVID-19 pandemic, most of our events were actually offline and physical. But, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, since we already have such a huge network, we were able to easily do online events. So not just like internationally, but also locally. So as I've shared before, we have done like a lot of events here in the Philippines. We also want to like gather a lot of like space enthusiasts, space organizations in the Philippines, network and get to know each other and know more about how we can be involved in space. But the thing is, SJC is a really great way for you to be involved in the international level. And in terms of COVID-19 as well, like aside from like the events that we do directly, we have had a lot of events and competitions or like to directly help out with COVID-19. So we've had like the COVID-19 essays together, different ideas on how space can be utilized in the COVID-19 pandemic. There's actually been a lot of space um, technology that can be used. So for example, there's this 3D printed ventilator that was invented and sent to the ISS, and this has been used to help out with the COVID-19 situation. And this was actually invented by Dr. Naoyuki Ishikita, and he has been like one of our mentors and speakers as well in SJC, especially with the space medicine group. We've also had a lot of hackathons, as well as like participation in terms of like other hackathons like NASA Space Apps, in order to identify ways and how the youth can help out with the current COVID-19 pandemic. Hope that answers the question. If you want to ask anything more specific, feel free to do so. Harlee, you want to add?
I think there's one more thing that I want to add as an essential point to that. As mentioned a while ago, one of the primary directive of SJAC is to gather insights from students and young professionals. Before the pandemic, we did that through the events, but most of these events are not accessible to a lot of people. So, for example, the Asia Pacific Space Generation Workshop, which was held in different countries such as in Singapore, in Japan, in Thailand, those kinds of things. So the fact that it's physical doesn't allow a lot of participants to go and participate and contribute their ideas. But with the pivot towards an online format of the SGAC events, it allows more participation and hence a wider source, basically, of the ideas that we get to report to the United Nations. So it's more relevant in a sense that it allows more accessibility and participation due to our new format of the events. But of course, we're still not going to be removing the physical events that we often do. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Yes. So for those who want to ask some questions, pwede po kayong mag-chat sa chat box. And without further ado, we continue with sa question and answer. I believe my partner has some questions left. Partner?
Yes, I do actually. While you were talking about the fairly new project group, which is, I believe it was human ethics. I believe that's what it's called. I had a question posed in my mind. So recently there has been kind of tensions in the West Philippine Sea region, seeing as your project group can help monitor the situation. So how does it do this in those regards? Po?
To be fair, none of us, me and Florence, are directly involved with the ethics and human rights. So I couldn't really speak for the project group. I'm not exactly sure though if they get direct involvement with these kinds of national relations issues. Um, but yeah, we can't provide a concrete answer unless Florence has a good answer to that. I don't.
Yeah, sorry, what was the question? I didn't quite hear it.
Po? How do you monitor the situation in the West Philippine Sea? Po?
I think I'm not sure if we're really involved with that in terms of the ethics and human rights group. I think the ethics and human rights group are more towards how ethics and human rights have to be considered in outer space later on when we have like space colonies, or right now even with short-term space travel. Because I'm not sure if you know, but like more than almost 90% of The people who have gone to outer space are Caucasians. There's still a lot to be done in terms of equality and diversity. Uh, but when it comes to space applications on Earth, I think it would be more relevant in the project group of STEA. So they also make use of space technology for land use, space technology for Earth's water, space technology for Earth's atmosphere. So I think monitoring the U.S.-Philippine Sea would be more relevant to this project group. And if you're interested in that, you could join this project group to see if they have any um, projects in the space technology for Earth's water that could be related to monitoring the Philippine Sea.
Very interesting indeed. So thank you so much for that. So we're gonna take a little break from the question and answers. So Angie, may papa-shoutout ba dyan?
Actually, partner, meron.
Oh, sino ba?
So, shoutout po kay Miss Brielle Ong, ang ating IVP, at saka po kay Mr. Cruz, ang ating streamer for today. Shoutout din po sa mga aking mga friends dyan out there. Alam ko nanonood sila, sa mother kong nanonood ng stream. Kasi papasok-pasok siya sa kwarto ko ngayon. So, ikaw ba, partner, meron ka bang at least gustong i-shoutout dyan? Alam ko medyo madami-dami yan eh.
Hindi na masyado. Si ano din eh. Actually, na-mention mo din na shoutout kay. Pero yun din, shoutout din po sa mga classmates ko na nanonood. Sana nanonood kayo. Hi, hello. And sa mga other organizations na sana makakanood kayo. Na partner. May mga questions ka pa ba din?
Actually, partner, may gusto din ko i-shoutout. Shoutout kay Sir Benji Sanahon ng San Beda. Hi, sir. Alam ko pa nanonood po kayo dyan out there. Hello po, sir.
Hi, Sir
Okay,
Ben.
ka naman, partner. So again, if you want to be shout out, guys, mag-comment lang kayo sa baba. And kung ayaw yung comment, mag-PM kayo sa akin. Charot. Guys, if you have some questions, and ano lang kayo sa comments sa baba. So let's continue with the question and answer portion, partner. I have a
Sige.
question.
Go on.
Well, narinig ko that this organization is open for everyone. Yeah. So I would like to ask how can the youth join your organizations po?
So yeah, I think 1 to 2 step process. You literally just go to spacegeneration.org, or you can just Google search Space Generation Advisory Council, the first link that gets in or that shows up there. And then merong lalabas doon na join us now. And then just click that and fill out it's not even an application form. It's just like a registration form that allows you to put in your personal details. And that's literally it. You're already a member of the organization. But like I said a while ago, being a member doesn't automatically entail na you extract the value that SGAC provides. So really the value of SGAC is not being associated as a member, but really in participating in the events, in the project groups, or connecting at least to the international network of SGAC. So yeah, it's as simple as that. Spacegeneration.org, join us now and fill out the form, and then that's it. You're already a member. As easy as that.
Baka mamaya sasali ka na, partner, no?
Go! Sali kayo!
Sige po. So everybody
Partners,
can join
kilala
this,
ko.
no? So ako pa.
So alam ko ikaw yung sasali. Alam mo na.
But these are
Alam ko
all...
sobrang gusto ko sa mga ganyan eh. So,
Ay, sis.
sumali ka na. Sumali ka na, partner. Pag sumali ka,
Sige.
tignan mo, sasali din yung members natin sa BSY. So, yan. Saan na kayo, guys?
Sige, ito na, sasali
Hindi
na.
lang sumali dyan, Step-by-step process lang yan.
Step by
Continue
step.
the questions.
Siguro, po, are there any questions left for the organization?
Well, actually, partner, madami-dami pa.
Ano pa?
Madami-dami pa dito questions. Kaya katulad ng, how can the GAC monitor human rights? Or kung
Ano,
paano,
ano pa?
ay, natanong ko na ba yun, partner?
Ah, yes, po, partner.
Ano ba yung first na tanong? First na
Ito
yung
ba?
utak, partner? First na yung tanong? Ano ba yan?
So, ano yung
So,
gusto mo itanong?
ha?
Ano yung gusto mo itanong?
Ano, ito na lang, partner. Since I always ask this to everyone, meron po ba kayong gusto sabihin sa mga youth na gusto po sumali or gusto pong like magkaroon din po ng idea po sa ganitong kind of organizations po. At saka shoutout na rin po sa mga gusto niyo rin pong i-shoutout.
Friends, you wanna go?
Yeah, I could go first. So, yeah, if you're interested, actually, I'm not. I'm from Cebu, so I don't speak Filipino and Tagalog well. But kung gusto niyo namang sumali, it's free, so you have nothing to lose. You can definitely just, as Harley shared, you can join now. If you are 18 to 35 years old, there's because we have like a age limit of 18 to 35 years old because that's the UN definition of youth. So if you're 18 to 35 years old, you can participate in the events and the project groups and be able to, utilize or like contribute to your own skills or ideas in different areas of space. So, for example, I really like medicine, and I know that in the Philippines, for example, there's a lot of us interested in healthcare and medicine. So, feel free to join the the organization and be involved in the space medicine project group. But if you're interested in other project groups, you can also do that. If you have any questions or hesitations, you can always contact me and Harley. I'm not sure if our emails are there, but it's just florence.basubas@spacegeneration.org for me. You could also see that in the website. So when you register um, as a member, you are able to identify like which mailing list you would like to be a part of, and you can choose like Philippines, and you'll be able to get connected to other youth who are interested in participating in space in the international, global, and universal level. SJC. So, Harley?
I think you answered it concisely na, so nothing to add.
You can share your email.
Easier. Go to spacegeneration.org, and then I don't think we have the country pages just yet. But my email would be harlee.quizzagan@spacegeneration.com. .org. So yeah. To add that as a slide.
Ayun. So, ano
I
po?
mean, if you search in the search, if you search like Florence or Harley, you could also just find our emails. But yeah.
Sige po. So Angie, now we're at the end of the program. May natutunan ka ba? May naidasado ka ba? What did you learn? Tawa-tawa ka dyan.
Partner, ako dapat nagtatanong yan sa'yo. Anong natutunan mo?
Personally, naging interesado ako sa lahat ng projects dito. And yung space law. Interesting. Ikaw ba?
Partner, everything went Greek. You know? Everything went Greek. Pero ano, syempre, di ba, we're asking questions. So, medyo, syempre, I've learned a lot rin naman. Syempre, as a, aspiring rin naman one of the, as a member rin po, as a member naman, di ba? Mas magiging malawak yung thought mo regarding sa mga bagay-bagay, especially sa mga space-related activities and space-related organization. Syempre, mas
Am
nagiging
I the only
open yung
one? I don't think I can hear an audio.
Ah, hello po?
Ah,
Yeah, I cannot hear them too.
Hindi ka naka-on sa Discord. I
Hello
believe.
po?
It's there.
Yung natututunan regarding sa mga new kind of activities like this and mas nagiging eye-opener siya to be more open to other kinds of organizations. So yun nga partner. So should like you know and
I see people
sige.
trying to speak, but can you hear them?
Yeah. Yeah. We cannot hear them. I think this is
So yeah, so with that, we would like to show our appreciation. We can't show on the screen the proper certificate, but be mindful that we will be sending this to you after this show. So as it reads, the Better Society of Young Astronomers would like to present the certificate of appreciation to Miss Florence, Pauline, and Sir Harlee Quizzagan for wonderful insights on your talk, utilization of space. So we'll be sending this to you afterwards. And with that, I would like to call on my partner for the closing remarks and the closing prayer.
So yes partner. Ayan. So it is a very interesting talk. So before we end this program, I would like to say on the behalf of BSYA our deepest gratitude to everyone. I want to thank the community of San Beda University for your continued support for all of our activities. Thank you as well to our speaker for accepting our invitation to speak on behalf of their organization. The officers who organized the event, and especially Sir June Kahigaw for making all this possible. This chapter may be nearing its end, but don't fret. We'll be ending our terms with a bang, so stay tuned for our stream tonight as we point our telescope to the super blood moon. Our last stream will be on May 29th. So sad. And we have another special guest that we can't wait to introduce to all of you. With that, I have been Angeline Kilang, ang makuliit na grade 11 batch representative of the Bedan Society of Young Astronomers. Signing off. As for the prayer, let us always remember that we are in the most holy presence of the Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. As we close this meeting, Lord, we want to give honor to you. Thank you, God, for the time we had today to discuss things and makes our decision. May you bless each person who took the time to gather here today and let your hands of protection be on them throughout the rest of the week. Let the work done here tonight come to the friction and let it all be for your glory. Help us each to do our parts to bring the plans discussed to life. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
So with that, we would like to see you all soon. Wish you a great day, and don't ever forget to reach for your stars. See you.
not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.